Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Lift with Sheila Robinson-Kiss. I'm so excited. Dr. Ulazi, my sister, as in same mama, same daddy, is back in the house. And today we're going to have what I feel is a very robust and important conversation about renegotiating your relationship. I mean, we are fully moving away from the fantasy version of what partnership is. And today we're going to be in the seat. I call it the driver's seat of reality. This is a very consequential conversation about the importance of taking a good hard look at where you are, the evolution of your relationship, of your marriage, and giving yourself an opportunity, the permission to renegotiate it. And so often, and I'm going to ask you to jump right in, Dr. Yu. So often, people are having these conversations and you ask yourself, well, who are you to be giving advice? Who's behind the advice? So let me say this, Dr. Nasia Serencioni-Ulazi, who I lovingly refer to as Sean. She is a board certified behavior analyst, over 30 years of experience supporting families across the spectrum of growth and development. Most of you know me, Sheila Robinson-Kiss, 28 years as a therapist and mental health educator. I write programs for people around the world that support mental health. And most recently, and for the last 7 years or so, I have been supporting families with a curriculum that's designed to help folks renegotiate their partnership responsibly. And I will say this, Sean, between the two of us, we have 40 years worth of experience being married, raising children in this kind of topsy-turvy world. So I want to welcome you. And you're welcome, and lay this out. We're going to hear from you just a second. We're going to talk about what renegotiating partnership looks like, the reasons people leave a relationship, and a lot of times if they get into renegotiation, it can be worked out. The reality that we change, the evolution of us, we change, our relationships change, and renegotiating a partnership, let's keep it real, it doesn't work. It's everyone's not a candidate for this, but a lot of people are. So without further ado, I want to welcome you, Dr. Ulazi, and I want to ask you point blank, in your opinion, how did we come to a place in this country where relationships are so romanticized and idealized?
Oh, how long do we have?
As long as we need.
A lot of it is commercialization, right? I think our history includes a history of selling romance, selling the fairy tale, right? And people have bought into it and really made it real. So I think what was your question again, Sheila?
Where did we get to the point where we've romanticized this to the point where, children very young playing with their Barbie dolls have, the white flowing dress and happily ever after and, off into the sunset. And as beautiful as it is, a marriage is not about a wedding ceremony. Newsflash, a partnership is not about a vacation.
Absolutely. And to go back to it again, I think there was a time in our evolution as a country where we had to promote marriage, right? The reality of it is our early beginnings in marriage were not in romance. The underpinnings and the foundation of marriage was not romance. That's something that we have been sold, right? Marriage was a very functional agreement. At one part in our history, functional meaning people get married and pick their partners to survive, right? It was truly a commitment rooted in partnership. I'm going to pick someone that's going to help me to survive. Later on, we had to sell the concept of marriage. And how did we sell it? Oh my goodness, Sheila, this fairy tale. It starts with, and you're right, it's rooted in many of us as children, especially us female children. We learn about this prince who's going to kiss us and wake us up. And rooted in that story is there's only going to be one, a one and only. And you're going to find your twin flame and all such. It just sounds so magical. Magical. How could you resist this story of romance? And we've created ritual around it. The rituals include, we're going to get a ring, and there's going to be a way this person is going to ask me to be their one and only. And I think all of that has created a story, a lore of this is what marriage, this is what it is, right? And with that idea, with this story comes a lot of rules and self-imposed and other imposed beliefs.
I love where you're going with this, and I want to jump in with the mental health component. And to be clear, I want everyone listening to understand I am an advocate for healthy families. I love love. I love relationships. That said, when you talk about how, partnership and marriage has been so idealized, that the mental health blowback is when people are the natural evolution of a relationship. They will hit a patch. I'm 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years into this. Why is my hair not blowing in the wind? And when he or she walks through the door, why does my heart do these, pitter patters? And people feel like something is wrong. The bottom is dropping out. And that's a backlash because we do not have real conversations about what it means to come together inside of a partnership. In my opinion, I'll ask you in just a second, at its core, a partnership is two people coming together and making a decision. We're going to take this walk and we're going to pool our resources, mind, heart, body, spirit, soul, financial, so that we can set the conditions to have the best life possible. Sometimes that may involve children, sometimes not. But inside of that evolution, there are a lot of things that go on, and we're just not doing a good job in this country, particularly of keeping it real. So, my question for you, number one, how do you define partnership in healthy terms? Have you come to a point where you've renegotiated your partnership, and why was that necessary?
I'm gonna backwards chain that.
Okay.
Why was it necessary? And maybe this will answer a lot of what you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
I myself, in the partnership that I'm in, met my husband when I was 22. I am now 52, right? We got married when I was 27, right? That's a long time. Why renegotiate it? Because fundamentally, I'm a different person than I was over 30 years ago.
Than you were last year.
Okay. So I'm a different person. He's a different person. Our needs are different, right? The agreement that we had 20, 30, 5 years ago don't meet my needs today. It's an agreement that it's not relevant. So why renegotiate? Because all of us ourselves are in process. right? Thank goodness I'm not the same woman I was at 22 years old. Thank goodness.
Yes.
But let's talk about, let's make room for that in our most significant partnerships and relationships. Let's make room for evolution. So when we agree to something at 22 and we don't revisit it, then we're going to have issues, right? There's going to be breakdowns, because what I agreed to at 22, I can't necessarily keep that agreement at 52. Does that mean a marriage has to end? No. That's where the renegotiation comes in. It's so interesting to me now, being 52 years old and having more context. People renegotiate so many things. They renegotiate the terms of insurance policies.
That's right.
Right? They renegotiate terms of mortgages. But when it comes to the contents of our life, we don't think to renegotiate relationships. And typically where people go when they can't abide by the agreement, or more common, when there's a broken agreement, the go-to is, now we're going to separate. When in actuality, it could have been, maybe there wasn't a need for a separation or a divorce. It could have been, can we just take some time to renegotiate our agreements?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. And I have to tell you that people will reach out to me because they want to take the course. And I have had, inside of these years, there's been so many aha moments when folks really sit down and look at all the elements of a life and of an evolution that can be renegotiated. Just to name a few, let me just share a partial list with you. Career commitments, household obligations, financial contributions, travel. Do we want to travel together? Do we want to take some solo trips? Time with in-laws, childcare, tasks, obligations, issues, sex, the physical elements of a relationship, hygiene issues, issues around illness, monogamy, consensual non-monogamy. Some couples, it comes a time to bring closure to the sexual aspect of their relationship, living arrangements, dating one another, issues around retirement, methods of communication, issues around pets, transportation, sharing a bedroom versus not. I have another 50 items, but for the interest of time, I just wanted to share a little piece of that with the understanding, and this is what we don't talk about. Yeah. What you opened up with, we change from year to year, sometimes month to month. You could have a single event in your life that makes it very necessary to sit down and check in with your partner. And it's something, one of the most heartbreaking aspects of this work is what you mentioned. People, something will happen and the go-to is, I'm out of here, I'm done. And this is an element, if there was conversation, sitting down, empathy, compassion, taking a look at really where you've been, where you're at, where can we potentially go together, it leaves a lot of room for healing. And when that doesn't happen, what you'll get, this term, maladaptive behaviors, where people start sneaking, resentments come in, the passive aggressive behavior. So this space for renegotiation and communication is key. I myself, one wonderful partnership, wonderful husband, it has been necessary. We started out in a negotiation, and that conversation has never ended from the time we started dating. Every year we sit down and have a check-in, where are you? What do you need more of? What do you need less of? Let's have a real conversation about it. And that is a space that is ripe for folks in partnerships to explore. I'll let you say more.
What I want to say is, I want to go back. When it comes to romantic relationships and partnerships in particular, we do get caught up in that magical romance as far as the picture in our mind of how we think it should look. This is what I want to invite listeners to consider, because this has given me so much freedom. A romantic partnership, a marriage, a relationship is whatever two people or three people or four people agree it is, right? I think if we give ourselves some freedom, that our relationships can be agreed upon. I think what people get stuck on is this picture in their mind of this romanticized idea of marriage. It has to look like this. No, I'm inviting folks to diffuse from that. A marriage, a partnership, a relationship are the contents of agreements between those folks, and it can look a multitude of different ways, right? The only way you will get to agreement, though, is if you get into conversation. Yep. And you share. I tell you, one of the things I've gained a significant amount of freedom in my relationship is speaking freely.
Yes.
Right. You said it before, asking for what it is you need, you're wanting, versus, oh, the rule says it should be this way. Then I'm having this thought, I better hide. What that breeds is shame, right? And you want to know really what puts that distance between people in relationships? Secrets, hiding, not being able to talk and express. So my invitation is truly, let's loosen up and hold real lightly this romanticized idea of what a relationship is. And wherever you are in your relationship, if you and the person or people are in agreement that works for you, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
You know, it's interesting where you're going in terms of, communication, secrets, all the things that can go on. I had a woman to reach out to me a few years ago, and with me, she was very candid and transparent. She had not been transparent with her partner, and she said, I am at a point in my life, I'm not interested in it. Some of that had to do with health reasons. There were some other things going on. And I asked her, have you spoken to your partner? I have not. I don't even know how to even approach the conversation. It's just not something that I'm interested in at this time. Now, this is where things got interesting. With some support, she was able to open up, be transparent, as you say, and get out of that secret, get out of that shame, get out of that forcing. I'm doing something in my heart I don't want to do. Her partner turned to her and said, I did not know how to have the conversation with you. I'm going through various changes myself. That singular space of opening up a dialogue was transformative for both of them. And they were able to negotiate aspects of their partnership that made sense for both of them from a spiritual perspective, financial perspective, physical perspective. And one of the things that I've seen over the years in my practice, the conversations shut down, the negotiations, what is happening with me, what's going on, and people literally go under and start living sometimes separate lives, sometimes the same life with a lot of tension. The conversations are critical. They matter. They're important. Dr. Ulazi, I want to ask you, I like to keep it real here on the lift. This is a real world channel. I have had people reach out to me in partnership, and after speaking with them in consultation, it becomes very clear to me that just because of where they're thinking, rigidity around it, they're really not a candidate to come in and start renegotiation. One example, there were a couple folks partnered, and one of them didn't even want the other one having lunch with her friends, and just a lot of rigidity. Can you speak a little bit about what you've seen over the years, people who can do very well with renegotiation. And again, what I've seen, some people, just because of their evolution, their thought process, it's not even something healthy for them to touch.
So in renegotiation, again, that's going to look different for different people. And I'm really glad what I'm happy to hear you say is it absolutely isn't for everyone. Oftentimes, people come to myself or they're coming to you. That's the best case scenario, because those individuals are people who at least have a partner who's willing to get in conversation and go seek out support.
Yes.
So let me start here. And again, I'm going to start with the ideal. Ideally, if we can start coaching and changing the narrative before people get into relationship and partnership, that's what we really like to see, right? And I'll tell you why. A lot of folks that I've worked with, it has been around issues of fidelity, right? Issues of somebody becomes attracted to another person and there has been a broken agreement, infidelity, and they don't know what to do. So they're coming in for some support. Ideally, I would like to see people talking about and defining what monogamy means in their marriage.
Yes.
Right? Monogamy it's an assumption that we make in our culture. When we hear the word monogamy, the assumption is, okay, I'm going to be with one person for the rest of my life and that's it. Right? That's one definition. But for some people, monogamy means, oh, my partner cannot laugh with another person. My partner cannot have lunch with another person. My partner cannot have friendships outside. So I think in our renegotiation, especially around agreements of fidelity, there needs to be a conversation around what monogamy means.
Absolutely.
Let's operationally define what monogamy means. I can't tell you how many people I see that were in agreement, they thought, but they didn't have the same understanding.
That's right.
Of monogamy, not even the same understanding of what marriage means.
That's right.
Right? People get married and one person thinks marriage is this and the other person thinks it's that, yet they're coming together. So my invitation to folks is get in communication. Start operationally defining what is marriage? What does that mean to you? What is monogamy? What is fidelity and infidelity? If we can operationalize those terms, it can prevent so much
pain, so much turmoil. In my opinion, at the beginning and end of the day, a relationship is only successful to the extent that needs are met, respected, nurtured, honored. And it's been interesting over the years. We have two people, and one of them is literally existing in Disney World, and the other one is on a barren desert, because it's what you said. Well, I'm great, I'm good, all my needs are getting met, everything's hunky-dory. And then we open up this dialogue, and the look of kind of shock and dismay. I've been suffering. How long have you been suffering? For about 10 or 15 years. I mean, so we know I cannot tell you how many of these moments I've had. So we know that there's a lot of work to do in the area of what you said. Let's get on the same page with our definitions and understanding that needs in and of themselves do change over time. You were married, what, 22, 23? Yeah, that you are so far from that young lady. She's with you, she's a part of you, but it's like, I'm so far from this young lady. What's going on?
Let me tell you this too. Something that I recognize that is still very much a part of, when I say culture, I'm speaking of North American USA culture, where
yes, ma'am,
we both live in the within the context of North America, USA,
Yeah.
there is this belief that one person too can meet all of your needs. And I think that's an unfair expectation, right? I think that again,
completely unfair. And it sets the person who believes that and the person who's been burdened with that.
Yeah.
Talk about a setup for failure.
Yes. Yes. So
and disappointment.
Failure, disappointment, disillusionment. And I think too, if we can get folks in conversation about these topics, right? Like a full life, Sheila, a full life includes many people, right? A full life. And I consider myself as someone who's living, and I've lived a full life. That includes making room for different people, right? Coming and going in out of your life. I am a mother.
Your niece, your nephew, your spouse, your co-workers.
So if our concept around relationship is so rigid that it only includes space for those two people, that's a setup for failure, right? I think also as part of the renegotiation, something I think is valuable to really focus on are who are the significant others that are going to come and go as a part of our life? Or do we want, right? Are we going to be solely dependent on each other for everything that there's no room for anyone else, right? That life with those two people in that context, it could work for some people, but for me, it occurs as very small and restricted.
Even beyond the, who is in your circle of affinity and love and family and affection, we could broaden that out. I have sat with numerous couples all over the world, and my passion, I want to begin traveling. I want to have a second career. I want to go out and put my hands in my garden more. So when you talk about a full life, the whole person, the whole experience, that conversation needs to be broadened out to include what are the things that make you whole and balanced, relationship being one aspect, from the spiritual component, from the emotional, from the environmental. And so when you really get into the innards of this rich and robust work, again, you start to see there's a whole lot of room for having some transformative conversations. And what I'm excited about is this work that we do individually. We come together inside of these coaching sessions to really support these individuals. And we've seen in all these years the transformation when people start conversations, because we're riding shotgun, as Absolutely. They say, we're riding with them.
And we talked about this the last time we came together and talked about radical acceptance. There's something about accepting life as it comes, right? When we let go and we diffuse from these thoughts and these self-imposed rules about the way life should be, when we let go of that and create another possibility, something opens up, right? There is freedom on the other side of that. There is transformation. And I will say, Sheila, that in the space of relationship, especially romanticized relationships and partnerships, this is where I really invite people to look at what their self-imposed rules are. What is it you can't say? What is it you shouldn't say, right? If there's a can't or a should in it, really pay attention to it and be willing to ask yourself, well, I shouldn't say it, but what if I did? What possibility would I create for myself if I said it anyway? And often on the other side of that is tremendous freedom. right? And just speaking to something in a relationship does have the potential to open up access to something else. And again, I want to go back because I want to be responsible, right? As a professional, this work in this direction isn't for everyone, right? And sometimes the option is, there is no room for a conversation about renegotiation. Sometimes the most appropriate thing to do is to part ways, but sometimes that isn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I love your responsibility as a professional, and I share that along with you. And I think having the integrity to look at yourself in the mirror and really look at your evolution and know where you are or have some idea, because the reality is we are a sum total of our experiences, and then we have to factor in the opportunities that lay before us, and sometimes those can be embraced, respected, and as you're saying, sometimes not. We really have to stay real about that. And that's one of my pet peeves. People are guiding people, advising, oh, one size fits all. It does not. Let us be clear. What I want to end on this note, then, Dr. Ulazi, I'm going to give you the last word. A very wise person once said that the unexamined life, is not worth the living. Yeah. I think that this conversation, the body of work deserves an examination. We deserve to look at our lives and our partnership. And since we were very young, one of the questions we always went back to is, does it make sense? Yes. Does it make sense? And that is my hope and wish for everyone. Things need to make sense. We are on this planet for a short period of time. Sure. And my feeling is we are not here to live an oppressed life of pain. Yes. The resources, conversation solutions are available, and I invite everyone to tap those resources. Dr. Ulazi, I give you the last word.
I want to leave folks, Sheila, with this, and I said it, but so I want to restate it. Really, really consider what possibility could be created in your life if you were willing to say what you think shouldn't be said, or to do what you think, if you have the thought it shouldn't be done. What possibility could you create if you did it anyway? Our relationships, we underestimate these amazing humans who are in our lives. You'd be surprised what we all get opened up to if we have the courage to get into communication, to say something, to start the conversation about renegotiating, to get curious about that human that is in front of you, right? To get curious about your own life. I am amazed, Sheila, I'm just amazed at my potential as a human being. I just keep growing, and not just growing, but going deeper, because I have the courage not only to ask other folks questions, but I'm asking myself. I'm doing some deep looking, examining, and reflection on myself. And again, I'm inviting these amazing listeners to do the same. You'd be surprised what you might discover.
Yeah, I think those are brilliant words to wrap on. And I'm so delighted. It's always wonderful to have you on the program. And I hope you will come back for more conversation and to share more insights. Thank you so much. Thank you.